Yo, what is up guys, it's Highcross, and welcome to my top 5 gaming mice of 2024 updated edition. This is kind of an updated version of the video that I made around 4 or 5 months ago. So yeah, we just got some new changes to our list of top 5s, and we're just gonna hop right into it right now. Starting off with our first honorable mention, we have the Mouse ULX. And this mouse actually stayed in its honorable mention spot. So previously when I made this video back in December, January, I can't exactly remember when I made it, but the Mouse ULX hadn't shipped out to people yet, so there was no reviews on the mouse at all. So I put it in an honorable mention because the mouse was getting so hyped up that people were thinking it was going to be an absolute game-changing mouse. Me personally, I do not think it's an absolutely game-changing mouse after testing it. I'll have a whole review down below. As I go through all these mice, it's going to be very, very brief, like just stating their specs and why I have it at its spot. So I'm not going to go into crazy deep detail, but on most of these mice, I do have reviews on. If you guys want to check them out, I'll have all the reviews linked down below. But yeah, so with the Mouse ULX, in my opinion, it wasn't game-changing at all. It was crazy overhyped, but I still think it's a very good mouse, especially for Fortnite. As for pros that use it, we have Seti. He's kind of known as the peripheral pro. He collects like tons of gaming mice, tons of mouse pads, stuff like that. He's constantly changing his peripherals around, but right now I do believe he is using the Mouse ULX Lion, which is the medium size, so that's pretty cool to see. The ULX utilizes Omron switches, which are very, very crisp switches, very solid. Here's a sound test of those switches. And it does utilize a Pixart 3395 sensor, so standard top-of-the-line sensor. It's very responsive. The mouse comes in 3 sizes. We have the Cheetah size, which is their smallest version. That's 115.6 millimeters long, 54.1 millimeters wide, and 35.2 millimeters tall. And that comes in at 31 grams. We have the Lion, which is the medium size with 121.3 millimeters long by 56.8 millimeters wide and 37 millimeters tall. That comes in at 35 grams. And the Tiger, which is the largest size, that is the model that I currently tested and played on. That is 126 millimeters long, 59 millimeters wide, and 38.4 millimeters tall, and that comes in at 37 grams. However, I've heard more people say that it's around 40 plus grams, so their weights are definitely a little bit off, but yeah, I think in my opinion, it's around 40 grams. And don't get me wrong, super light, but they are advertising a little bit less than what it usually is, so just keep that in mind. The max polling rate is 4K hertz in the X panel. The X panel is the software for Final Mouse. It's really, really cool. It actually uses it as like a browser source, so all you have to type in is xpanel.com, and once you go in there, it'll take you to the Final Mouse website in the X panel, and it'll detect your mouse, and then you can change all your settings there. So there's like no latency, no delay whatsoever. Since you're using it through a browser source, it's not like an app being added onto your PC, which is a pretty cool touch by Final Mouse. Honestly, it's pretty innovative. But yeah, they are currently testing 8K hertz polling, which is pretty cool. In my opinion, I'm kind of against 8K hertz. I think it's too ahead of its time. I always talk about this in my videos. 4K hertz is perfect for games like Valorant or Overwatch, but for Fortnite, I still think 4K hertz is a little too much. I think 1K and 2K hertz is perfect, but that's just my opinion. The mouse comes in at over $250 on third-party websites only, so that is the biggest downside of the mouse. The mouse is currently sold out on the Final Mouse website, so the only places you can find it are like StockX.com or eBay, stuff like that, and they're all over like $250. So you guys are gonna be breaking the bank if you guys are interested in purchasing the mouse. It's a little annoying, but Final Mouse, that's just how it goes. Every time they release a product, they only release a certain amount of mice, so you have to get it when it comes out. And I've currently tried the Final Mouse 10s, wasn't a big fan of that, but I am a much bigger fan of the Final Mouse ULX. It is still a very good mouse. I am using it as my secondary mouse for my streaming PC, just to like, you know, just to use it and have it on my desk, because I did spend a decent amount of money to get it, and I don't want to just let it sit in a drawer and collect dust. But yeah, overall, it's a pretty solid mouse. There is definitely some flexing of the shell. Again, you guys can watch my full review in the description below. But yeah, I talked about how there's like flexing of the back portion of the shell when I'm playing box fights or something like that, or just getting into intense build fights. When I squeeze the mouse, it flexes inward, and that's why I stopped using it. If there was no flexing whatsoever, and maybe if it had a smooth coat and not like the honeycomb shell, then in my opinion, I'd probably still be using it right now. However, I'm not really a fan of mice with like holes in them. That's just my opinion. I just think it gets a little annoying when gripping the mouse and kind of hurts my fingers a little bit. But yeah, and then the flexing is just absolutely horrible. No one wants a mouse that's gonna have crazy flexing, so that was just kind of a downside for me. But yeah, I'm gonna keep the final Mouse ULX in the honorable mention. It's still a really good mouse for Fortnite, just not the top 5 in my opinion. Now getting into our top 5, at our number 5 spot, we have the Razer Viper Mini Signature Edition. Now this mouse is very well known in the peripheral community, if you guys know what this mouse is. So basically the Razer Viper Mini, like the regular version, it's a wired mouse. It costs like, no joke, $20 or something. But it's so good for the price. So if you guys are looking for a budget option, get the Razer Viper Mini. From time to time, I still use that mouse. It's still really good. The clicks are awesome in it. But everyone's always wanted a Razer Viper Mini wireless version. And so Razer knew the demand was so high for this, so they just decided to come out with a signature edition, up the price like crazy. They decided to mark it up to like $280 or something on their website, and only release a specific amount of them and just call it a signature edition. So not really a fan that Razer did that. You know, they were a little greedy, but it's whatever. So yeah, but the question is it actually good? And to be honest, it is a very, very good mouse. And I do want to preface this real quick. There are 2 mice on this list that I have not tried personally. However, I've talked to people who have owned these mice and have done extensive research on both of these mice, just to get some intel so I can make this video for you guys, because I'm not Mr. Beast. You know, I can't afford to buy all these mice. However, I do like making videos and, you know, sharing what I've learned about these mice to you guys. So in case you want to buy them, you know, learn more about them, that's why I'm here. But yeah, if I was Mr. Beast, trust me, I would have bought these mice by now. But yeah, let's get back into like the specifications of the Razer Viper Mini Signature Edition. I like to stay all the Fortnite pros that tend to use these mice. So Cooper, if you guys know who Cooper is, he's one of the best Fortnite players in the world right now. He plays on NA Central. He owns like 5 of these Razer Viper Mini Signature Editions. It's a little crazy. If you guys watch his setup tour, he literally shows like 5 of them. I guess he just has crazy motion like that to afford 5 of those. Who knows, Razer might have sent them out to him or something. I don't believe he currently uses it right now, but he used it for a very long time and played very well on it. And you know, in his streams, he constantly says how good the mouse is. So the mouse uses optical switches generation 3. Here's a sound test of that. And for the sensor, it utilizes a Razer Focus Pro 30K optical sensor. Pretty solid, top of the line sensor. This mouse comes in at 119 millimeters long, 61 millimeters wide, and 38 millimeters tall. So this is definitely a claw grip mouse. I'll show you guys a picture of ELO shapes, and I'm actually going to compare this to both the GPX2 and the Razer Viper V3 Pro. Those are 2 of the most popular mice in the Fortnite scene right now, and they both have very standard sizing. You guys can compare the size and just see for yourselves if it would be a mouse that you would like, but it is definitely a claw grip mouse. You could definitely fingertip it if you use a fingertip grip, but I know claw grip is very, very popular in Fortnite. If you use palm grip, I would not recommend this mouse. So yeah, it comes in at 49 grams, which is a very, very good weight. Super light mouse. It's very impressive that they got it down to that weight. However, with this weight reduction comes with gigantic holes in the mouse. There's like the standard honeycomb holes that you'll find in Final Mouse mice, but these might as well be just gigantic Dorito holes. So if you're eating chips or something, don't be surprised if it just falls in one of these holes. Like, they are just gigantic and they look a little bit weird, but I've talked to a few people who own this mouse and they said that it doesn't bother them in the slightest. Like, they get used to it pretty quick. Personally, I don't like holes at all on my mice, so like I would prefer if this mouse just had smooth coating all over it, but it doesn't, so that's why another reason why I personally wouldn't get it. But you know, from the people that I've talked to, it doesn't bother them in any way. The max polling rate of this mouse comes in at 8K hertz, which is really, really cool. Again, you're most likely not gonna be able to run 8K or 4K hertz in Fortnite, but you know, depending on your PC, I would definitely try it out first. And sadly, this mouse comes in at over $300 on third-party websites, making it the most expensive mouse on this entire list. So just keep that in mind. Again, if you really, really want this mouse and you got motion like that, I definitely recommend it, especially if you're a claw grip player, just because of how good the specs actually are on this thing. And I've heard really, really good things from people who do own the mouse. So I'm going to keep this at my top 5 spot. On to our number 4 spot, we have a mouse that most of you probably have not heard of, and I recently just heard of this mouse and believe it to be a top 5 mouse for Fortnite after talking to some people who own it. This is the second mouse that I have not tried personally. But yeah, this is the Zowie U2 wireless. And Zowie, when you think of Zowie as a company, you probably think of their monitors. I currently own their Zowie monitor. Well, recently back in January, they released the Zowie U2, and it caught my eye on Twitter. I saw it. Some people were raving about it, saying that this was going to be a game-changing mouse. But yeah, I just kind of like pushed it aside. Well, 2 months, 3 months go by, but now it's being used by two of the best Fortnite players in the scene right now, Muzz and Epic Whale. They're both using it. I went into their chat and asked them how they like it, and they both said that they're absolutely loving the mouse right now. Overall, the specs of this mouse are really, really good, and I'll get into that right now. So it currently uses a Pixart 3395 sensor, again, top of the line sensor. It comes in at 60 grams, which is actually a really good weight for a Zowie mouse. Typically, Zowie mice are on the heavier side, and they're not really meant for fast-paced games. I believe Zowie at first was starting to make mice for like Counter-Strike only, but now they're on to like fast first-person shooters and fast games where you need to flick your mouse around. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see that they decreased the weight down to 60 grams. As for the dimensions, it's 124 millimeters long, 65 millimeters wide, and 38 millimeters tall. And this is designed for claw grip users as well. So me personally, I wouldn't pick this mouse up just because I know I'm such a palm grip player. However, there are, again, tons of claw grip players in the scene. So if you guys are interested in picking up like a new mouse and you use claw grip, then I definitely recommend the Zowie U2. It utilizes Hawanu blue shell pink dot switches, which is pretty cool. And one funny thing about this mouse is it comes with that gigantic dock as a charging station. So I'll show a picture on screen now, but yeah, basically it's just a gigantic dock and you can charge your mouse just right on the dock. I've actually heard people say they absolutely love just this giant docking station. It's pretty user friendly and stuff like that. So I just figured I'd mention that in case you guys will either like it or don't like it. But I do want to talk about two cons that I have heard from people that are currently using this. One con is the scroll wheel. So they actually haven't changed their scroll wheel from previous models. The scroll wheel is actually very loud and rattly, but like performance wise, it's still going to perform really well. But if you guys don't like a loud and rattly scroll wheel, especially if you're like constantly using it, then I wouldn't really recommend this mouse. And then another con is there's kind of semi-poor coating with the mouse, so it's going to show sweat very easily. Personally, that doesn't bother me. Like if you play competitive games, you're going to sweat a decent amount. And you know, on my G Pro Superlight, like it showed for a long time and it didn't really bother me at all. So I think it's the same thing with the Zowie U2. But you know, if that's going to bother you in any way, then maybe don't pick up this mouse. I just figured I'd mention that. The max polling rate on this mouse is 1K hertz. Honestly, I don't think that's a big deal that it can't go up more than 1K hertz. I'm pretty sure like 90% of pro players still use 1K or 2K hertz. Like they're not going up to 4K or 8K. And finally, the price is $130, which is a very good price in my opinion. This is the cheapest mouse on the list, and that's why it is in my top 4 spot. For $130, you are getting some pretty high-end specs, and I really think this mouse is a game-changing mouse. So yeah, if you guys are interested, again, link will be in the description for you guys to check it out. And yeah, I think it's a number 4 spot on my list. On to our number 3 spot is a very well-known mouse, and a mouse that I absolutely love. We have the Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro. This mouse is known as the best ergo mouse on the market, and in my opinion, it is. It uses Razer Generation 3 optical switches. Here's a sound test of those. It utilizes a Focus Pro sensor, which is also known as like a 3950 sensor. For the dimensions, it's 128 millimeters long, 68 millimeters wide, and 44 millimeters tall. That 44 millimeters tall definitely makes it more of an ergo mouse, and this is perfect for palm grip players like myself. So if you guys know that you're a palm grip player, then this mouse is definitely meant for you. And this mouse also has some of the best side buttons that I've ever tried on a mouse. They're super crisp and they're gigantic, so they're easy to hit, especially if you're constantly like spamming your side buttons. I definitely recommend this mouse. It comes in at 63 grams, which is still considered very light for a gaming mouse, but 63 grams, again, it's like the same weight as the Logitech G Pro Superlight Series 1, so like you're around the same exact weight as that. The default hertz is 1K hertz, however, you can get up to 8K hertz with the hyperpolling dongle from Razer, so just keep that in mind. If you guys play like Valorant or Overwatch, you might want to get that hyperpolling dongle. And lastly, the price comes in at $137, which is actually a very good price for these specifications. and I do think that this deserves a number 3 spot. I've just heard nonstop great things from people who own this mouse. I've tried it myself, absolutely love it. I don't currently use it and I don't currently own it right now, but I have owned it in the past and absolutely loved it. So I do recommend the Razer DeathAdder V3 Pro, and it'll stay in my number 3 spot. Onto our number 2 spot, we have the Logitech G Pro Superlight 2. This is the most popular mouse currently in Fortnite. It is used by every Fortnite player and their grandma and their grandma's grandma. So everybody uses this freaking mouse, and you know, there's good reason for that. This mouse is absolutely insane. I used the GPX Series 1 for a long time, for like 2+ years. Absolutely loved it. It was my main mouse forever. My main mouse has now changed, and I'll talk about that when we get to the number 1 spot. However, the GPX 2 is an incredible gaming mouse. Like 90% of Fortnite pros currently use this mouse. There's good reason for that. I do believe that this mouse best caters specifically to Fortnite. So, you know, if you guys are just starting out keyboard and mouse and you want a really good gaming mouse, I do recommend getting the GPX 2 if you're getting into like competitive Fortnite. It utilizes Omron switches, very good switches. Here is a sound test of those. It does use an updated Hero 2 sensor. The sensor is absolutely incredible, flawless performance. The dimensions, it's 125 millimeters long, 64 millimeters wide, and 40 millimeters tall. So this makes it a perfect mouse for palm grip. You could probably claw grip this mouse. It's kind of like a size fits all mouse. That's why it's so popular. Like no matter what size your hands are, it's gonna fit perfectly on this mouse, just how the shape is. It truly is absolutely incredible. You can get up to 4K hertz polling with this mouse, and the price is $153 right now, which isn't bad at all for these crazy good specs and shape. I honestly expected the price to be a little bit higher as of right now, but yeah, $153 on Amazon is not bad at all. But yeah, GPX 2, very good, especially if you guys are getting into competitive Fortnite, you're looking to upgrade your mouse. I strongly recommend the GPX 2. And I do want to mention real quick, when the GPX 2 first released, I said it's not worth the upgrade if you own a GPX 1, and I still kind of stand by that. Like, if you guys don't have the budget for a GPX 2, I wouldn't really get it if you have a GPX 1. The GPX 2's upgrades are so slim, like they only shaved 2 to 3 grams of weight off of it. They upgraded the sensor a little bit, the clicks are a little different, and you can get a higher polling rate. It's up to you at the end of the day, but if you guys have like a budget for this mouse, honestly, I say go for it. Fortnite pros who have owned the GPX 1 are switching to the GPX 2, so at the end of the day, it's your decision, but I do recommend the upgrade if you have the budget. And lastly, coming in at our number 1 spot, we have the Razer Viper V3 Pro. This is the best mouse on the market in my opinion, and I think we have found the new golden standard for gaming mice with the Razer Viper V3 Pro. So this mouse absolutely blew me away, and I know you guys might be thinking I'm a little crazy for putting a mouse that just released and having it skyrocket all the way to my first place spot. You guys probably think it's crazy recency bias or something. Genuinely, this mouse is flawless. I have not found one con with this mouse whatsoever. From the amount of mice that I've tested and tried over the years, this mouse has blew me away in every possible way. I mean, it is just absolutely incredible. Just going from the upgrade from the Razer Viper V2 Pro to the V3 Pro is just a generational upgrade. It is basically a completely different mouse. Like, you might as well just call this mouse something completely different, because from the V2 Pro, it just feels completely different. I was not a fan of the V2 Pro in the slightest. I actually gave it away in a giveaway just because I was not a fan of it. I didn't like the textured coating. I wasn't a fan of the side buttons being so close to each other. The clicks felt way too deep for me. There was just a lot of things that I did not like with the V2 Pro. However, the V3 Pro blew me away. It's absolutely incredible. So some notable upgrades. It is currently using the Razer optical mouse switches generation 3. Really good. Here's a sound test for those. It utilizes a Focus Pro 35K optical sensor Gen 2, and you guys know Razer, they gatekeep their sensors, so it's more like a 3970 if you want to put it on standard market terms. For the dimensions, it's 127 millimeters long, 64 millimeters wide, and 40 millimeters tall, so it is the same exact height as the GPX 2, just keep that in mind. I absolutely love how they changed the shape completely from the V2 Pro to match kind of like the GPX 2. And I absolutely love the GPX 2 shape. So this is basically like the GPX 2 on steroids in my opinion. Just better specs overall, it just feels way better. The clicks feel extremely light and crisp. That's like the best way to put it. I love light clicks. Like you could spam this without your finger getting fatigued. You could spam this mouse forever and your finger's not gonna feel a thing. It's absolutely incredible. Scroll wheel is perfect. It lifts up and out of the mouse perfectly, so you could spam scroll wheel if you use scroll wheel reset. The biggest notable change for me that I absolutely love is actually the spacing in between the side buttons. They added a larger space. That was one of the biggest cons with the V2 Pro, was that the side buttons were way too close to each other. Now they added a space so you could easily click them without actually fat fingering the wrong button. So kudos to Razer. You can get up to 8K hertz polling with this mouse, so absolutely incredible there. Again, with Fortnite, you're most likely only going to be able to get 2K hertz polling, and the price currently is $160, which I expected this mouse to be closer to $180, $190. For $160, like, you guys should be sprinting to Amazon and copying this mouse right away. For $160. This price honestly shocked me, and it actually went down a little bit since I bought it, which is pretty cool. So as of right now, it's $160 on Amazon. There are 3 Razer mice out of the 5 mice on my top 5 list. So as you guys can tell, Razer is just basically owning the mouse community right now. I think they're just outperforming every other mouse company at the moment, just specs wise. And they're really listening to the community to see what they want. I think there was definitely a lot of backlash with the Viper V2 Pro, and a lot of people were complaining about it. So they just made an absolute crazy left turn change with the Viper V3 Pro, and now it's a completely different mouse that I think is the golden standard for gaming mice at the moment. So yeah, boys, that is my top 5 gaming mice for Fortnite, including an honorable mention. This is updated May 2024. Obviously, as new mice come out, this might be subject to change throughout the years. I'll probably be making another one of these videos in the next 6 to 7 months as new mice release. But yeah, I will be making a top 5 mouse pads video. That should be out either late next week or in 2 weeks, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, boys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope this video was of use for you guys. Again, all links will be in the description down below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.